Blog Talk Radio.
Deserve it, so claim yours today. Good love. Is your relationship everything you want it to be? Are you living a fulfilled, passionate life empowered with choices that ignite you to the next level? Good love makes your whole life better. So join America's Good Love Doctor, Dr. Brenda Wade, on a journey to your healthiest life yet. A regular on Dr. Oz and Dr. Drew, she's appeared on Oprah, Good Morning America, and is featured in countless publications from USA Today to Essence Magazine. The creator of life-changing Get Unstuck Now, Love, Money, and Save a seminars, she's counseled millions. But today, she's here just for you with the hottest topics, guests, and trends. This is Good Love with Dr. Brenda Wade.
Ooh, hello, everybody, and welcome to Good Love. I am your love doctor, the Good Love Doctor. Not just love, good love, because it's different. And we're talking every week, every Tuesday night right here about what is good love. How do we get more of it? How do we create it? How do we magnetize it? All my lovely singles who are out there, yes, how do you magnetize it? And this is Love and Money Month. We have declared it Love and Money. And few people have said to me, well, what do love and money have to do with each other? Okay, so I have a secret for you. When you have more love, this is hard science, everybody. When you have more love, you have more success. Yes, people in love are more successful. Why are they more successful? Because they're in that positive, juicy, hot energy. They're radiant, and that makes them magnetic. When you're magnetic, you're magnetizing every good thing. Yes, love makes you magnetic to money. So we're going to talk tonight about love and money. And we have a hot topic tonight. And that is, what does love and money have to do with one another? Or you might say, what's love got to do with it? We're going to make sure you have your hottest Valentine's Day yet, because our first guest tonight is one of the top TV therapists around and the author of Kiss Your Fights Away. Yes, I said kiss your fights away. And later we're going to uncover the secrets of compassionate and dispassionate love with a minister from one of my favorite places in the whole world. That is the Agape International Spiritual Center in Los Angeles. So we have two powerhouse women guests in one powerful hour. And this week and every week, I want you to understand this. The key to good love is you. Y-O-U, you. Knowing that you truly deserve. You are truly worthy of good love. You know why? Take a breath, everybody. Breathe it in. The why is you are already lovable. Now, that's the open secret. Most of us are working to heal those places in ourselves where we secretly think we're unlovable, where we secretly think we're not good enough, where we secretly think somebody else, if they get too close, is going to find that little dark hole that we curled up in and then not love us. Good love is about you identifying those old love patterns. We just wrapped up a few minutes ago, week 5 of our 6-week Unchain Your Love teleseminar. And one of our participants realized that in her family, she had always been the family scapegoat. Her older sisters and brothers had given her a hard time, and she recognized it wasn't about her. They weren't angry with her. Now, do you know the freedom of knowing, hey, wait a minute, I wasn't scapegoated because something is wrong with me. Now it's safe for me to open to love. So tonight, let's see what you can discover about yourself so you can open up to more love, because every week we focus on why good love is essential to your greatness. Think about that, your greatness. We look at, again, identifying those old negative love patterns that might be blocking your good love. And, of course, we want to break the chains of what happened so you're free to experience good love now. All right, so take a breath, and let me tell you that in a few minutes, we want you to answer a question. Every week you get to answer a question. Now, the question this week is, what does prosperity mean to you? So hit us back on Facebook and Twitter at Dr. Brenda Wade, or hashtag good for love. Okay, or it could be hashtag Dr. Brenda Wade. We want to hear from you because we know prosperity is defined in many different ways. We all have our idea of what feels prosperous, what looks prosperous. For some of us, it's getting all the goodies and all the toys, and I want to be the one that dies with all the toys. For some of us, prosperity is living our purpose, being of service. That's why we call our seminars Love, Money, and Seva. Because, of course, love and money are great. Seva isn't just how much I get, it's how much I give. Seva is being of selfless service. And that leads me right to our very first guest, Jamie Turndorf. All right, let me tell you just a little bit about Jamie. Okay, Jamie wrote that book that everybody's talking about, Kiss Your Fights Away. She also wrote a book called Make Up, Don't Break Up. And, of course, she's got in Kiss Your Fights Away, Dr. Love's simple steps to cooling conflict and rekindling your relationship, because she says nobody enjoys being nagged. And, of course, nobody wants to be the nagger or the naggee. So why is it that most often when I say the word nag, people think of a woman being a nag, and that women get the bad rap? All right, Dr. Turndorf has been everywhere spreading the good word. She's a relationship expert on CNN, CBS, Fox, Inside Edition, NBC's Today Show, WebMD, been featured in Men's Health, Cosmopolitan, and so much more. And she's got her own radio show, Ask Dr. Love. And I am so honored to welcome Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Hello, Love Doctor. How are you?
Hello, it's so nice to be with you. We've been on the same path for, I think, probably the same number of years, perhaps. And it's just a pleasure to meet you.
It is my pleasure, and welcome to Good Love. And all of our listeners want to know, what is up with nagging?
Oh, well, before I forget, I want to just tell you my book title is Kiss Your Fights Goodbye.
Oh, I like Kiss Your Fights Goodbye.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know, because if they look for Kiss Your Fights Away, it's a lovely title, but it's not my title. So anyway. All right, so
and we certainly want to kiss fights goodbye. Let's talk nagging.
Nagging. Okay, so to understand nagging, I have to back up and explain to you about husband withdrawal. And I'm not talking about a natural form of birth control here. Okay? Baby, I'm not going there.
All right.
All right. Husband withdrawal, the number one cause of marital and relationship fighting, divorce, and domestic violence. All right. Now, when I help your listeners understand about husband withdrawal, then we'll understand how nagging applies. So can I just lay this on you?
Everybody, husband withdrawal. You may want to take notes. And again, we don't mean coitus interruptus. Go right ahead, Dr. Jamie.
When I get on a roll, it's bad. Okay.
Right. Okay. You can roll here.
All right, I'm rolling. This is how I roll. So millions of women throughout the world are all too familiar with the way men distance themselves emotionally or physically whenever conflict erupts. And the technical name for this conflict pattern is the demand-withdraw negative escalation cycle, or husband withdrawal, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Number one cause of breakups, divorce, and domestic violence. So now, what causes husband withdrawal? Heated fighting triggers a biochemical imbalance in men's bodies that causes them to withdraw from conflict.
Wow.
Now, women don't
fighting
know this.
triggers a biochemical imbalance in a man's body.
Yes,
that
that's what
is
Kiss Your Fight Goodbye is all about. I explain this and I show you how to stop it. Now, here's the deal, and this has been really I'm so excited to share this information because women don't know it. And let me lay this out for you. Men's bodies are hardwired to be hyper-reactive to stress and danger. And this programming dates back to prehistoric times when men were hunters and they needed to react with lightning speed to flee or to fight dangerous prey.
Exactly.
Modern danger is no longer the ferocious tiger. It's the pissed-off wife or girlfriend. And when she comes at him, baring her teeth and berating him with criticism, his body sees danger and involuntarily switches into ANS arousal, autonomic nervous system arousal, and that triggers the fight-flight response.
Wow.
Now,
all right, everybody, take a note. Take a note here. Dr. Jamie is breaking it down, that nagging and criticizing, and we know criticizing is one of those 5 C's that destroys relationship, but here's why. There's something hardwired into a guy's brain that when he hits, what did you call it, hyperarousal? That's not the good kind of arousal.
Or autonomic nervous system, or ANS arousal. We call it the fight-flight response.
That's right.
But here's the most amazing thing. Since most guys don't want to physically fight their partners, they flee instead. And there are 3 ways that all men flee from conflict. And women need to know this because I'll tell you why in a minute. The first type of fleeing is physical fleeing. Women know what this is. He leaves the room, he leaves the house, he hides out in his workshop, avoids coming home. That's obvious. But the second type of fleeing that men do is more subtle. I call it verbal fleeing. Here, the man justifies, he makes excuses, he defends himself to verbally escape responsibility. Now, the third type of fleeing is the most subtle of all. It's psychic or mental fleeing. Here, the mind takes a hike. He's physically present, but he's mentally gone. He looks deaf, dumb, and blind. He's drooling on his tie. He's wearing a no-hablo.
He's hidden behind the newspaper, or hidden behind the computer, or hidden behind the television remote.
Right.
Wow.
Now, a woman not knowing that these various fleeing behaviors are biologically programmed, she thinks, oh, he doesn't give a crap about me. He doesn't care enough to stick around and resolve our issue. So her hurt, she takes this withdrawal behavior personally, feels hurt, her hurt morphs into anger, but when she turns up the heat and blasts him with more wrath, she unwittingly sets off more biological fire alarms, more fleeing.
Wow, so you dig a deeper hole. Ouch.
This is the downward spiral of conflict that has divorce, breakups, domestic violence written all over it. So that's what Kiss Your Fights Goodbye is all about. I show you how to stop husband withdrawal.
Oh, my God. So hiding behind the remote and in the television is one of it. Did you see that cartoon, Dr. Jamie? There was a cartoon that came out of 2 women who were sitting at dinner, and one woman said, I'm so angry with my husband, I decided to punish him. And her friend said, what did you do? She reaches in her purse, and she pulls out the TV remote. And her friend goes, vicious.
Vicious, right. I removed the sports channels from our lineup.
Exactly. There's no place to hide, but maybe what you're saying is a man who's in this biochemical reaction needs to flee, or he becomes more dangerous.
Or if he will fight physically before he flees. But there is a way out. My method works to stop husband withdrawal, and it's using what I call relationship climate control techniques. Because remember I said heated fighting triggers this biochemical imbalance that causes them to flee.
So we want to cool it down.
You cool it down, and it literally shuts off the fight-flight response. Then, when you have a climate that's cool, husband withdrawal magically disappears. Now you have a guy who actually wants to stick around and resolve any conflict you've got. That's easily achieved using my step-by-step 5-step conflict resolution method that I outline in the second half of Kiss Your Fights Goodbye.
Everybody's going to have to get the book to Kiss the Fights Goodbye. Now, what are some of the things you can tell us about cooling it down? And then, of course, I know we have people who are burning to ask questions. Everyone, if you have a question, please hit us up on Facebook with that question. Do hashtag Dr. Brenda Wade, and Cliff is collecting questions, or our operator will get your question if you call in, please.
Well, awesome. I love it. That was very, very poetic of you. They have burning questions about how to cool the climate. So
no, I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
That's amazingly cute. So, all right, I'll give you 3 ways that I talk about cooling the climate. There are other ways in the book, but I'll give you 3. How's that?
Go for it. Everybody get your pen and paper out or your little mobile device and get these 3 things down. This is money in the bank, speaking of money and love.
That's right. So the first way that we cool the climate down, my first relationship climate control technique, is to identify and eliminate what I call our fight traps. Those are those faulty, dysfunctional fighting tactics that heat the climate and cause more chemical imbalance and more withdrawal. And I divide fight traps into 2 categories: open and secret warfare. We all know what open warfare traps are. You know, those are those outright slams, the screw yous, the name calling, the character assassinations, the I told you so's, the paybacks. Now, the secret warfare traps are the more indirect expressions of anger, but they still heat the climate all the same, like I forgot, recruiting allies, silent treatment, guilt tripping, and the 3 Scrooges, nagging, whining, and complaining, right? But the point is, remember, this is what I always say. Remember, whatever you say or do boomerangs back on you. And while it may feel good to get your rocks off in the moment, on the rocks is where your relationship is going to end up if you don't ditch your fight traps.
Wow. All right. No getting off the rocks, everybody, or you'll end up on the rocks. Very important. Now, back up for a minute. What were those 3 Scrooges again? I don't want anybody to miss the 3 Scrooges.
Nagging, whining, and complaining.
Nagging, whining, and complaining. So in lieu of nagging, whining, and complaining, we're going to do something else. Now, if there are any questions coming in, Cliff, are you going to be fielding the questions for us? Are you there? Hello, Cliff.
I'll be here. Yeah, just.
Okay.
No, wait. Cliff is in withdrawal. He's in withdrawal.
No, Cliff isn't in withdrawal. Cliff is always present and accounted for and giving us great support. And Cliff, if there is a question, just stop us and go, halt, there is a question coming in, because we definitely want to hear from her.
Dr. Love, put a sock in it.
Okay, no whining, complaining, whatever you do, people, no calling with whining and complaining. All right, great. So roll forward here, Dr. Jamie, because, cooling it down.
All right, so my next relationship climate control technique is what I call training your brain to fight for you, not against you. So what do I mean by this? In our intimate relationships, we all fall into what I call the echo process. This is a negative cognitive distortion that causes us to unconsciously hear our parents talking when our partners speak. And obviously, when that happens, that heats the climate. So my second relationship climate control technique is to train your brain to fight for you, not against you. And I have a simple 5-step process that I fully outline in Kiss Your Fights Goodbye. You know, step 1, well, let me give you an example of how this happens.
Great, yeah.
You see the echo process in action, okay? Let's say Tuesday night is chicken night in this household, right? So the wife puts down a plate of chicken in front of her husband, and he says, oh, no, not chicken night again. Well, she goes ballistic. What, you don't like my chicken? You can go stuff my chicken. Well, she went nuts. Why was she going nuts? She was locked in an echo process, right? Because she heard her critical father saying to her, I don't like anything you do. You don't do things right. So how do we train her to get out of this echo process? Here's the 5 steps. First, she has to hold her horses. Step 1, don't do anything. Don't say anything when you feel yourself getting hot under the collar. Step 2, take a step back in time. Step 3, take a hard look at reality. Compare what just happened with your experiences as a kid. Who does your partner remind you of? And then step 4, check out your suspicion. Is there even a 1% chance that you might be negatively distorting? Maybe your husband didn't mean anything or didn't mean what you thought he meant. So then you check it out. Honey, were you saying you don't like my cooking, you don't like my chicken recipes? Then he can say, no, baby, I love all your chicken parts, your breasts, your thighs.
Yeah, right.
and then step 5.
Hand over that bucket of fried chicken.
Yeah, baby. And then step 5, we smooth any ruffled feathers. In this case, it's chicken feathers.
Oh, okay. So that is a very powerful technique. Now, by the way, everyone who wants to ask a question, I forgot to tell you something important. You must press 1 on the handset on your phone, and then Cliff knows you have a question, and he can call on you live, real time. You can ask your question of Dr. Jamie, or hit us up on Facebook, Dr. Brenda Wade, or tweet hashtag Dr. Brenda Wade. All right. Now, Jamie, I have a question for you.
Yeah?
This is really excellent information because what you're saying to people is often when we're being reactive, what
Right.
we're reacting to isn't the here and now.
There you go.
It is this, as you call it, echo from the past. And is there a way that people can, in the moment, when they're being reactive, put the brakes on?
You're so great because that's my third cool-down step that I was going to tell you about. You're totally in sync with me, babe. So here it is. You're talking about what I call the old scars from childhood and how they cause relationship fighting. I have a chapter in Kiss Your Fights Goodbye where I call it battle scars. And what I explain is that the old scars from childhood heat the relationship climate and fuel our fights in 2 ways, okay? First is fight intensity, okay? Because old scars cause a disproportionate reaction to present-day events because our brain works by association. We're always comparing present-day events with earlier wounds. I call this the emotional lake effect. You know the way a storm picks up intensity and it gathers moisture as it passes across the Great Lakes? Well, our brains are dipping into the reservoir of our unconscious and making us emotionally remember similar past hurts. And this is why fireworks are going off inside of us over a very small offense, because the unconscious associations are adding fuel to our current fire. So we're drowning in feelings from past similar hurts and we're having a disproportionate reaction to an apparently minor event. That's the first clue that old scars are fueling our fire. Like, for example, husband and wife are out to dinner, and the husband keeps checking his wristwatch, and he keeps checking and checking. Finally, the wife goes ballistic. If you can't wait to get out of here and you can't wait to leave me, fine, ask for the check. He's like, what? I'm just checking my watch to make sure to read the meter, to feed the meter on time, and you're handing me a fine. She was having a freak out because her father never had time for her when she was a child. So she made that association. That was her emotional lake effect, and now she's handing all that old rage onto her husband, her partner, and that heats the climate. So you know if you have a disproportionate reaction and you can't shake the feeling, and the reason we can't shake it is because all these associations that are fueling our fire are happening unconsciously. We can't move on because we haven't wrapped our head around what's really going on. So here's how we get around it.
Wow. All right, everyone, breathe this in. Breathe this in. And I want everyone to know Dr. Jamie is dishing up the gold tonight because I can tell you, just as she can tell you from years and years of working with couples and teaching classes, 90%, would that be too high, Dr. Jamie? 90%
probably too low, right?
Of big conflicts have nothing to do with what's happening in the present. One or the other partner is triggered by something from the past, because when it gets that intense, it's always from the past.
Exactly like they say in AA. If it's hysterical, it's historical, right?
Oh, I like it. Hysterical, historical. That works for me.
Exactly. So how do we get to the old scar? Because the overt fight content that you have acts like a smoke screen to conceal the real issue, and you end up fighting over the garbage in a heap, the toilet seat that's left up, and you get all caught up, and the present content overcomes and conceals the real issue, the old scar that's really fueling your fire. So how do we do this? Can you believe stripping is the way? And I'm not talking about getting naked.
Oh, come on. I thought we were going to talk about strip teasing.
Not yet. That comes after. That comes after.
Okay.
Right. So I'm talking about stripping away the overt content to uncover the old scar. And the way we do this is I show you, I fully outline this in Kiss Your Fights Goodbye. We draw an emotional fight map. I have you step away from what the overt content of the fight is and just chart the emotional course of the fight. And then you connect it back to when you felt that way as a kid, who was doing and saying what to you. Now I have unearthed the old scar. And the beauty of this is what is so evangelical. I'm so excited about this because now you are able to use your intimate relationship for its highest and most divine purpose, which is to help each other heal your old scars. So now that you know what the old scar is, you can turn to your partner.
You mean that these fights and these old scars aren't a sign that we should be torturing each other? We're actually supposed to be helping each other to heal?
We get to use it. We get to use it, right, to heal each other.
You know, this is something most couples, when they get in the fight, most couples go, you weren't like this when I met you. What happened to you? You've changed.
But you know that we unconsciously, it's said we know within the first 10 minutes of meeting someone, you're going to help me replay the worst pain of my childhood, and that's why I fit you like a puzzle piece, because you're going to recreate this for me. And not because and I'm not a glutton for punishment or misery or a masochist. It's because I secretly want to restage this and heal it. And the only way we're going to heal it is by doing what I'm talking about and helping each other. So now with consciousness, I can say to my partner, wow, when you said that, it really reminded me of my dad who never had any time for me. And then now you turn your partner into an ally instead of an enemy. And he can say, oh, I didn't mean that at all. Let's talk about it. What did he do? And now we're helping each other to heal. That's the highest, most divine purpose of our intimate relationships. And then once we heal our old scars, we cool the climate so much that now you've got a partner who's not withdrawing and is ready to stick around and resolve your conflicts, which is easy to do. That's easy to do. Once we're both in the room and husband withdrawal is over, my step-by-step conflict resolution process is easy. I fully outline that, and that's a piece of cake.
The hard part is actually this first part you've been talking about, which is recognizing I'm upset, and it might not be for the reason I think. It might actually be something in me that needs healing. This is where those old love patterns, the old chains are there in our mind, because you know what I love that you just said, Dr. Jamie? What? Turn your partner from an enemy to an ally.
I know when I heard it, I said, Dan, you got to write that down. That is good.
Very good. From an enemy to an ally.
Yes.
Also, I have a cure for the toilet seat problem. I have a girlfriend named Solveig who I was in her bathroom. I was visiting them, and the toilet seat was up, and she had taken red nail polish, and she had painted on the underside of the lid, "It's so nice having a man around the house," in red nail polish. Right?
That's funny. I thought you could use crazy glue to keep the damn thing down.
Oh, I love it. Okay, now let's check in. Cliff, remind everybody they've got to press 1 on their handset. If you've got a question or a comment for Dr. Jamie, you know you have a question or comment, send it to us on Facebook or get that Twitter, hashtag Dr. Brenda Wade. And, Jamie, can I ask you one more question?
Yeah.
When people are in the moment and they're really carried away and you're cooling the climate down with these great techniques, when is it safe to come back and really re-engage?
When we're dead. No.
Oh, God, come on.
No.
Dr. Jamie.
No, I'm crazy. So the thing is,
and I'm loving it.
In Kiss Your Fights Goodbye, I let you know. I give you a series of questions so you have a checklist to recognize whether husband withdrawal is happening. And I give you first aid techniques to cool it down so that you know all the signs. And if your partner is in withdrawal, don't even go there. You have to be sure that you're not seeing any signs. Then you both agree to re-engage.
All right. So if your
step.
partner's already activated, remember, everybody back to the beginning, biochemical activation, the brain is hijacked. They think you're a lion in the grass, not their partner. You're an enemy. You leave them alone. Okay,
right.
Take it from Dr. Jamie. Then when all that has cleared up and you can tell they're back to their normal selves, they're no longer possessed, you can fire the exorcist and then talk to them. Is that good?
Right, and then there's some tricks. I give you some extra tricks in the book because if you've been chronically conflicted, sometimes a guy doesn't return to baseline. So I give you techniques for reapproaching so that you really work with somebody who's chronically chemically imbalanced, which happens in long-term conflicted relationships. I should also say that this is really important too. Sometimes the roles are reversed, and sometimes it's the woman doing the withdrawing. It doesn't matter. My method still works all the same. Works for gay couples, works for single couples, married couples, young, old, gay, straight. And my method also works for disputes with friends, family, co-workers, parents and children.
Yeah, because a love breakdown is a love breakdown.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, one question. I know we have listeners. You may be shy tonight, everybody. That's okay. I'm going to ask this question for you. What do you do if you have a partner who's violent? Because we know that this is highly dangerous. What do you do to keep yourself safe? Do you get the heck out of the marriage? What do you do?
You know, I have a chapter where I list violations of marital or relationship laws. And if there is physical violence, there is no negotiation or discussion possible. You can't talk to, it's like you can't talk to somebody who's drunk. If there's physical violence, that has to stop first and foremost, because we have to have that under control before we can start to talk again.
All right, and that requires intervention.
Intervention.
Right? Nobody's going to be able to stop their violence on their own. And sometimes
control.
That's right. You need impulse control. And sometimes, let me just say this, the best way to get somebody under control with a problem with violence is bring in something from outside that will help them control themselves. Like you have to do the very scary thing, call for help. Call the police, intervene, all of that.
There's something else I have to say here, which is a very unpopular position, but through
we talk about controversial things here on the Good Love Show. Go ahead.
Women need to know this, and I am not condoning violence. I'm not condoning when a man acts out against a woman and physically aggresses her, or vice versa. But the thing is, we have to look at what we may be doing without realizing it to provoke the other. Now, that doesn't mean that gives the other person the right to do what he's doing, but if you're dealing with someone who doesn't have the ability to control himself or herself or has a short fuse, you need to look at, gee, what am I doing to possibly egg this person on? Now, that doesn't mean it's right what he's doing, but I still have to clean up my side of the fence.
All right, so we're both going to clean up our sides of the fence, but if you're dealing with somebody who's violent and dangerous, your first responsibility is protect yourself, make yourself safe, call the police, do what you have to do. We still know that this is one of the number one causes of death for women in this country, and we've got to be safe, all right? So I'm going to add that little footnote. Dr. Jamie, you get the last word. And all of our listeners are shy tonight, but that's okay. Cliff, anything coming through on Facebook? Cliff, are you there? Hello,
I think people are just enthralled with this discussion tonight, and we have quite a few listeners. So
it's interesting. You know, I did an interview on Hay House Radio on Monday, and the phones were ringing off the hook. But what I notice is, like, I think what Cliff is saying is true, that what I'm presenting is something people haven't heard before. So there is a kind of sense of like, oh, wow.
Yeah, and absorbing it. It's great information. All right, everybody, I want you to know you're listening to Love Doctor Jamie Turndorf.
Actually, I'm known as Dr. Love, or Ask Dr. Love.
Dr. Love, Ask Dr. Love.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell everybody all about how to reach you, and it's very important. You want that book from Dr. Turndorf. She has the Ask Dr. Love radio show, and her book is Make Up, Don't Break Up. That's one. And Kiss Your Fights Goodbye. Dr. Love's simple steps to cooling conflict. I like that, cooling down. And rekindling your relationship. All right. And she is published by Hay House. Love Hay House. Yeah. Always wonderful, wonderful things. And here's a takeaway, everybody. Make your mate your ally, not your enemy, because love has a purpose. Love, and I always like to say, love is like Drano in the drain. It's going to bring up whatever we need to heal, and I think that's exactly what Dr. Jamie is. Dr. Jamie Turndorf, thank you. Thank you so much. Very high-level material, lots to think about, lots to chew on, and we're going to have you back again when everybody's going to feel like asking questions.
Oh, that's great, and maybe you'll come on my show, too. It'll be wonderful to have you.
Totally, I would
love that.
Wonderful.
Nice meeting you. It was a real
pleasure. It's my pleasure. All right, be well. Blessings.
You too.
All right.